I don't reckon anybody ever told the players of Critical Role that you should never split the party. In fact, I think they're kind of convincing me that you should split the party. Hello, everybody. My name is Matthew Perkins from MatthewPerkins.net, and today we're talking about Critical Role. This series is called Critical Role Models, where it is 50% recap, 50% review, and also 50% Dungeon Master lesson. Because these are good players and a good Dungeon Master. And if you're a D&D player, hey, maybe we can learn something. Maybe we can learn something together. The Dungeon Master tip at the end of the video is going to be about how to set up a tiered quest reward. And I will warn you, spoilers. There are about to be spoilers. Okay, you've been warned. So let's do the recap. You may recall that at the end of the last episode, the party had been brought before Lord Estros in his manor. Now, Lord Estros is a half-orc, a wizened half-orc, very stern, but seems good of heart. Now, the party was brought here by their friend Sir Bertrand Bell. And from Lord Estros, the party is hoping to get employment for either gold, or perhaps information, or perhaps reputation. But to test their mettle, Lord Estros, at the end of the last episode, made them all roll for initiative and charged them with his cane. This fight is not particularly difficult for the party, but it's a good opportunity for us to see what the players can do and the way their characters interact. Some interesting things that happen in this fight is at one point Ashton throws a dagger at Sir Bertrand Bell, because Sir Bertrand isn't particularly helpful in combat. And also, Fern sets a table on fire. Come on, that's not your table, mate. When combat dies down and Lord Estros says, hey, stop hitting me, I'm done, the fight's over, he offers the party work because he's clearly impressed with their combat ability. Lord Estros comes off as a pretty top bloke after this fight because he seems like an overwhelmingly good aligned character. He doesn't want the party just to have monetary ambitions. He wants them to have noble ambitions. He wants them to do the right thing because it's the right thing. And I think he's also giving them a bit of a test here on their morals because he is going to employ them. He offers some work. But first, he gives a little bit of information about something called the Ivory Syndicate, which seems to be a kind of nefarious organization, and he paints a vague picture of a general danger in the area, particularly ancient and new evils that lurk in the jungles below the spires. So the party is offered a job from this noble orc, and the job feels like half heist, half investigation. So this lord, he is a patron of this Dial Hall. It's an education center. It's a symbol of opportunity in the city. Now, this lord's estate sees over the deliveries to the Dial Hall. Now, crates that are being shipped to this place are being robbed. So the party has to go to his warehouse, which is like a textile warehouse, which is fabric and stuff. And they have to return with information about what's going on. So the reward here is that the party gets $50 straight up each. And then if they return with enough info, they're going to get $150 each. But if they manage to bust the whole thing open, if they manage to actually stop whatever culprit is messing with these deliveries, then they're going to get 350 smackaroos each. Beautiful. But more importantly, if the party can do this, then this lord promises to draw up a contract and bring them formally into his employment. And notably in this conversation between the lord, Liam's character, Orem, is the very first character to get whispers from a natural 20 on an insight check. The party leaves the manor and goes to a pub to discuss. And they don't go to the pub they went to last time, which was called the Spire by Fire, I believe. Instead, they go to a pub that Matt definitely had to make up on the fly called the Weary Way Tavern. Why wouldn't they just go to the pub that they already knew? I don't know. So at this pub, we learn a few things about the way these characters interact. The whole party is not impressed with Travis's character, Bertrand Bell. They mock him, they pour a drink on him, they really take the mickey, and it's kind of mean, it's kind of mean. He is a braggart, he is not particularly useful, but hey, he's still a mate. Come on, be kind to him. The party reckon this job is going to be a good opportunity to test whether they're going to be a good team. And in particular, Orem, Liam's character, Orem seems a little bit more reticent to share about his past than all the other characters. Letters, Fresh Cut Grass, he reveals that he's a bit more of an advanced robot than his other compatriots who were made by Dancer and destroyed in the silver mine earlier. So he seems to be an especially advanced robot, as far as, robots go. There is a terrifying moment here. There's a terrifying moment with Marisha's character, Lordna. So, Lordna pulls out the dead rat that is tied to her belt, and she says that it is named Pate de Rolo. And she does like a miming kind of speech and makes it speak and does the voice and everything. And it is got to be the most terrifying minute and a half of role playing I've ever seen. If you only see one part of this episode, watch Marisha lose her mind as she plays this dead rat. It's beautiful. Now, the thing is, this rat's name is Pate DeRollo, and DeRollo was the name of Talison's character in campaign 1, Percy DeRollo, right? Now, this means that Lordna, we found out this in the first episode, Lordna is from Whitestone, which is another location from campaign 1. And Aurum knows all about Whitestone because he's from that same continent. From their backstories, we learn that Lordna left Whitestone, which is the ancestral home of the DeRollos. She left Whitestone before the DeRollos took back over. So she left Whitestone before campaign 1 actually happened. Aurum is clearly familiar with the events of campaign 1 and their effect on Whitestone because he's friends with Keyleth, right? He's friends with Keyleth. Bertram also chimes in with the fact that for a little bit he was kind of in Vox Machina. He has a Vox Machina pin, which is the name of the party from campaign 1. When the party rocks up to this warehouse to investigate what's happening with these stolen shipments, they decide to break into 3 teams. The first team is the interior team. That's Letters, Aurum, and Imogen. The second team is outside, and that's Dorian, Ashton, and Lordna. And the third team are just the liabilities, which is Fern and Bertrand. The interior team gets a good shine of the spotlight here. As they go in, their plan is to go in under false pretenses, right? They announce themselves as people that are buying textiles for an employer. The general plan when they go in here is that Laura's character, Imogen, is going to run distraction by talking to the person in charge, and she's also reading minds a lot. And in the meantime, Aurum and Letters are going around kind of investigating crates and trying to find anything suspicious. Aurum manages to open one of the crates and find some things that aren't supposed to be there. And at another point, Letters manages to identify some kind of residue that's in one of the crates. What could this be? He uses a special kind of lens across his eyes that help him identify items. It's a special ability. It's very cool. We learn that this is the residue from something called brimstone, a kind of dull grey, light blue, very rare stone. The only source of this very magical rock is something called the Ostfair Union. Now, this resource was used in the Age of Arcanum to power their ancient floating cities, but now those are no more. However, when these stones are salvaged, they are used to make the sky ships in the modern era. Then we cut to the outside crew, which is Dorian, Ashton, and Lordna. So they all stealth around the back of the warehouse to inspect what's going on back there. Ashton finds a sealed door at the back. In the meantime, for some reason, Ashton and Lorna decide to try and get up there on the roof. And the way they do this is beautiful. Because Dorian reveals he has boots of flying, and he kind of princess carries Lorna all the way up there, and they roll stealth, and they hide up there, hiding from those giant red birds with dog heads that ferry people across the city. I believe there are sky wardens that are watching for any suspicious activity. When they get up there, they find a rope ladder and a moldy box. They find like a moldy kind of mysterious little box. Lorna licks it. She's so weird. Then we cut to Fern and Bertrand, team liability out there in the front. And they just have the strangest conversation. It's so awkward. Like they talk about life and love and marriage. And eventually Fern kind of gets bored and is like, hey, we should go in there. Do you think they're okay? And Bertrand's like, they're probably okay, but it sounds like you just want to go in there. And she's like, yeah, I do. I'm going to go in there. But before Fern does go into the warehouse, Bertrand does say something that's useful for us, the audience. He recalls that the Chande Quorum, which are the kind of mysterious oligarchs that rule over the city, he recalls that the Chande Quorum, some of those members, they work with the Ivory Syndicate. The Ivory Syndicate, we've learned from the Lord, they're not great, apparently. They're doing some nefarious stuff. So Fern rocks up into the warehouse. She lies about she wants to buy fabric as well. And then Aurum deliberately falls off a crate and hurts himself. He decides to roll a d6 damage for himself. He falls off a crate just to distract them from Fern's awful lie. And then a final detect thoughts from Letters tells the party that the people in the warehouse, they want the party to leave, please. So now we've got some information. It's time for a new plan. We're going to do a stakeout. Are you ready? We break into 3 new teams. We've got Team Backdoor, we've got Team Full Frontal, and then we've got Aurum. Team Backdoor, They go around the back door and they're going to stake out there. They're going to try and hide and just pretend to be drunks up against the wall. And they're just going to watch that back door for any suspicious activity. Team Full Frontal are going to stake out the front and see if anybody enters from the front because they're trying to catch somebody stealing from this warehouse. But Dorian, being a bard, has a few special tricks, and he turns Aurum invisible so Aurum can get inside and actually watch what's happening inside the warehouse. Now, all this happens after the warehouse has been closed. But one of the employees returns to the warehouse. It's Danis, the halfling that was in charge, and she rocks up and grabs something from one of the crates and leaves. Aurum, being invisible, decides to stay in the warehouse, but two people, Bertrand and Imogen, decide to follow her, while Dorian stays out front. At this point, there's like a beautiful moment where so when she leaves the warehouse, of course she turns the lights off. So now Aurum is invisible in there, in the warehouse, sitting in the dark. So Laudna just starts sending him messages to see if he's okay. And at some point, Letters uses an ability that imparts an emotion on him somehow. I don't know what this ability is. I think I need to look at their character sheets. Have they been published? I gotta check. And that's where the session ends. It has most of the party milling around this warehouse in a dubious formation, while two characters, Bertrand and Imogen, I believe, are following this woman who has taken something from one of the crates in the warehouse. And they are following her deeper and deeper into the city, separated from the party. So now I've just got to search my feelings and work out, how did I feel about this episode? Well, hey, there's some stuff that I absolutely loved. By far, my favorite thing about this episode and the campaign so far is Marisha's character, Laudna. Oh, just so creepy. So creepy. When Laudna was, puppeting her dead rat and doing the voice and talking about like the voices that she hears in her head, just everything about this character is supremely strange. Have you ever been in one of those instances where you're at like a house party or something and you're talking to someone and you go, oh, this person's kind of quirky, they're a bit kooky. And then over time you realize, oh, they're not kooky, they're not quirky. This person is a danger. That's how I feel about Laudna. I am so scared of Laudna. I love her. So creepy. When she's playing with the rat, when she's licking that moldy box, everything she says is terrifying. Great character. I'm also blown away with the strides that Ashley's made with Fern, because with Ashley's previous characters, in campaign 1 it was Pike, in campaign 2 it was Yasha, those characters seemed a little bit weaker than the rest of the party, confidence wise. Maybe it's because Ashley has like a little bit less experience with the system of Dungeons and Dragons. She has to, fly away for work and all that kind of stuff. But Fern feels really strong, and Ashley's being really assertive with the way she roleplays her, which is just like a loose cannon. It's Charlie Kelly, bailing out of the back of a van, wild card, just ruins every plan in the funnest way. I think Ashley's going to turn a lot of scenes into a farce. And hey, I love a farce. Oh, it just started absolutely pouring rain, so enjoy that oral experience. One thing I wasn't a big fan of this episode was the references to previous campaigns. And I said that the last time I talked about this, but hey, this is my genuine feeling. In this episode, when they started referencing campaign 1, where Laudna and Aurum were talking about Whitestone and the Dorollos, I'm like, that's great for me. I have that context. I saw campaign 1, but I know a lot of people that didn't, right? And I don't know. It just feels like kind of cheap to put in those nostalgic moments. I want to create new memories. I don't want to harp on about the old ones, even though I loved those characters. Let me address some conspiracy theories that I had from the last time I talked about this. I said that I think that Travis isn't going to be a main cast member. I think I'm wrong. I jumped the gun. Robbie is definitely a guest and Travis is definitely a main cast member. But everybody correctly agreed, I think, that this character, Bertram, is not going to be his main character in the storyline. Bertram is probably going to be written out at some point and then replaced with Travis's main character. But one of you commented, Wayne Soul, you commented with this great theory that I just want to be true. You reckon that maybe when Bertram Bell goes away and Travis reveals his main character might be the Anger. The Anger, who was the character that Liam's character Aurum was looking for. Ooh, salacious, juicy. We got a couple of mysteries here as well. I really want to know more about this brimstone rock, because when they first started talking about it, this residue they found, I thought it was going to be residuum, which is a kind of magical dust that can replace the components in spells and can be used to craft magical items. So I thought we were going to get some residuum here, but brimstone? What's that? I've also got a lot of questions about this Ivory Syndicate. Who are they? What do they want? And the way they interact with the Shande Quorum. The political climate is going to take a little bit longer, probably a few more episodes for me to wrap my head around. Ooh, I also love the mystery of Bertrand's old party, because the lord that gave them this quest said that Bertrand's old party, one of them died and the others left. Like, I want to know about that disgrace. I know that this group, they love delving into backstory, but somehow Bertrand is the backstory that I care about. Those were my big question marks this episode. But hey, what were your favorite bits? What are your crazy theories that you got going on? Let me know downstairs in the comments. The lesson that I'm taking away personally from this session is super duper simple. It's really, really basic, but it's something that I've never done, and now I kind of wish I had have done, And it's just the format of the rewards of this quest. See, normally when I hand out a quest, I go, okay, party, if you go and do this thing, if you retrieve this MacGuffin, I will give you X amount of gold pieces. And the party either does it or they don't, and they get the money or they don't. But in this episode, Matt broke up the reward to have a tiered system, which I really like. I think it's really fun. So he said, look, for even taking the job, I'm going to advance you 50 gold pieces. Here you go. Go spend it on yourself, right? And then if you complete the task, you're going to get X amount. But if you do an incredible job and you crack this whole case open, you actually bring the people to justice and you ensure that this problem is going to completely stop, then you get double the amount. You get a whole bunch more. I reckon this tiered setup for organizing a quest is really handy because it's not like the way I had it set up, where it's just you either do the quest or you don't, or you get paid or you don't, or you fail or you don't, right? At least with this, there are degrees of failure and degrees of success. So even if the party, if they do a half bad job, they're still going to hit that middle tier probably. Even if they shoot for the big whammy success, they still might hit that middle tier. I don't know. I just really like that. It feels like a fairer way to reward their effort, and also a way to incentivize them to take bigger risks for a bigger reward. Sometimes I've seen this used as like a ludicrous thing. Here's a spoiler from Princes of the Apocalypse, one of the D&D modules. There's a quest in there that I think is impossible. You're meant to try and get like this dragon turtle egg, and you're going to get like 10 grand. You're going to get 10 grand if you succeed in doing this. But I think it's genuinely impossible, right? It's something that they put in there just to make the party take a ridiculous risk or incentivize them to do something adventurous. But there's no way you're going to succeed in this. I don't think anybody's ever claimed this reward, right? But imagine if it was this way. So it goes, okay, here's the ludicrous, the high tier reward. You get 10 grand if you can bring me the dragon turtle egg. But what if the actual quest was just find out where the nest is? If you can tell me the location, then you'll get a much smaller reward. Or maybe it's there's something in between those even, where it's like, if you can get me a scale from a dragon turtle, or like some kind of DNA from dragon turtle, then I will reward you for that as well. So then we have like a quest that is all linked thematically. They all kind of naturally escalate, but there's a tiered reward along the way. So that the party, they're not just going to fail that 10 grand quest and get annoyed. They're going to get something for taking smaller risks along the way. I don't know. I just thought it was a cute little idea that I've never tried before. Maybe you've never tried it before. I reckon it's worth giving a go. Everybody, thank you so much for watching this episode of Critical Role Models. My name's Matthew Perkins from MatthewPerkins.net. All these people down here are my patrons. Hey, if you like this video, please do me a favor. Consider subscribing and sharing it to your mates and all that stuff. But consider becoming a patron. Like, this cost me maybe $50-$60 per episode to make. Patrons offset that cost. There is a production cost here, and patrons help fund it. So if you like this stuff, please consider becoming a patron. All right, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later.